Hello, friends. We reconvene again for another episode of feel good, heartwarming television. Unfortunately, last week we lost baby Blue Eyes, and he went with an idol in his pocket, so Mac is sad. However, at least he has Liz to carry him all the way through to the end and win that $180 because Liz is a person who has got winner all over her. However, she starts off the episode rather pissed off because she wasn't in the know about the tide going against Hunter. And then the entitlement begins. Everyone thinks that Q has checked out, except for Q because he's playing his own wibbly wobbly game. We get into the reward challenge, and here's where we once again find ourselves talking about Survivor for all the wrong reasons. It's a sandbag obstacle course. And in case you haven't picked up, this episode is sponsored by Applebee's. That's Applebee's. And as we know, we had a win from, of all people, Q, who decides to take his conglomerate of Maria, Kenzie, and Tiffany to try and reignite some previous alliances. He's on the outs, and all this is happening in front of Liz. She's not the first picked, and she's got this intense reaction, which we all have opinions about. She has a meltdown of the likes. I know I referred to Brandon Hans last week, but it's hard not to think of him again. But the level of entitlement, the anger, the fury at a person who she isn't even aligned with was really quite sickening. And as you guys have said in the main chat, I mean, like, how come she's got all these allergies to everything that's natural on an island and yet manages to devour a whole fucking menu from a fast food chain? And on top of that, we're getting this real thick slathering on of the sponsor, who is Applebee's. By the way, that's Applebee's. So, as a sidetrack, all this negativity and the whole Barney situation from early on in the season reminds me of, would you believe, the Amazing Race Family Edition back in 2005. Now, in case you didn't see it, this was the season that almost broke the Amazing Race and took it off air because it had poor casting. It had families, and with families we're going to see arguments, especially when you put them in stressful situations. And argue they did. There was a lot of bickering, there was some bullying between families, and at the core is the Weaver family, who less than a year previous to filming had lost their father in a Daytona freak accident where he was a technician. He went out onto the track and got mowed down by a car. So this family, they're still grieving, they're still traumatized, and on top of that, they're kind of fractured, so they rub a couple of the other teams the wrong way, which starts some bullying. So what do the Amazing Race producers do? They include a challenge on a racetrack, further adding to the trauma. And basically my whole point was this was a really poorly executed season due to the casting and the behavior from the individuals, but also the willingness of the producers to accentuate the trauma. And this was really the worst of reality TV. And I thought that Survivor had moved on from that, and that's why I've been watching Survivor today. But it seemed like a complete reversion. So anyway, after the explosion, Liz offers an apology and admits just not sincere at all, and Q accepts it falsely. Then we get into the immunity challenge. It's an endurance challenge, with the buckets, the pre-game weight, and Jeff tries to offer a deal, which he's offered before, and would you believe, couldn't go to a deal, but Liz decides to take rice for herself because apparently it's the only thing she can eat now. But by this point, all the sympathy has gone out the fucking window. It's amazing to think that Q has actually emerged as, if not quite the hero, but the sympathetic character in this episode. So yeah, Gabler apparently was the record holder with just 38 minutes. I miss Gabler. I miss the days that we had castaways that Liam would make a T-shirt for and consider changing his name to, those days when it was all about the gameplay and these really great characters. But there we go. Let's get Gabler a shout out anyway. So Shane is happy because Charlie wins his second immunity in a row, which means Shane's not leaving the game any time soon either. So, this episode has been brought to you by Applebee's, by the way. And we get to Tribal Council. But back at camp first, everyone wants to flush Tiff's idol because an idol is more dangerous than Q right now, allegedly. Whether that's true or not, that's debatable. But Liz publicly admits her apology to Q wasn't that sincere, not for the first time this episode either. So all that talk about the potential of using Q as a shield for a smokescreen comes good. And it's just Q, Kenzie, and Venus it was Tiffany, Q, and Tiffany, Venus, and Kenzie who vote for Q. There we go. Everyone else goes for Tiffany and takes out the other immunity idol. So, yay, some gameplay of sorts. So, yeah, Tiffany becomes the next member of the jury, and Amanda loses her first teammate, which means Liam, right in the middle of the board, is the only player left to have both of his players in the game. And I've actually got a question whether Maria actually still has that extra vote. Was that actually only valid for one or two tribals? She hasn't mentioned it, so I'm questioning whether that's even in the game. But still, Liam has got Kenzie and Maria in the game. There we go. So, yeah, I guess we've all been to Applebee's because this episode has been brought to you by Applebee's. What does that do to our side bet? Well, Yarny's lost its first member, so yeah, still anyone's game for $15 on the table.